After graduating from college, I got a job at an electronics manufacturer, and now I'm a salesman handling big box stores and retailers that sell household appliances. Ouch! The pain's flaring up again. For the past few days, my bottom left molar had been swelling up. That day, after my second appointment, a sharp pain surged through that molar. It was an unusual pain for such a mere cavity. When I looked around, I noticed a signboard of a dental clinic. It was one of the chains, with 5 branches across Oregon. I needed to get this severe molar pain treated immediately, or I wouldn't be able to speak. Upon entering the dental clinic, a young, friendly female dentist named Jessica attended to me. She carefully examined my mouth and said, "Your wisdom tooth has developed a cavity." I visited her for about a month during my work breaks. That's how I met my wife, Jessica. Despite her limited experience, her cheerful nature and friendly smile made her a favorite dentist among children and their parents. 3 months after meeting Jessica, I proposed to her. Our relationship went smoothly, and we got married 2 years later. After a while into our marriage, Jessica's skills as a dentist improved, and she even began training new dentists and dental assistants. On the other hand, my sales performance was average, nothing exceptional. I haven't achieved any significant results, and I'm still an average salaried employee. Every day, I would sigh, comparing my vibrant and passionate wife to myself, an unremarkable salesman. One evening, while sipping coffee after dinner, a thought crossed my mind, which I verbalized. In the grand scheme of things at the company, I'm just another replaceable employee. There are many like me. Grasping my shoulder, Jessica responded with a serious look. "Bob, the company might think they can replace any employee, but for the clients, not just any salesperson will do. I understand this because of the drug reps that visit our clinic. It's the trust that makes them comfortable. For those clients, you are irreplaceable, Bob." Her words struck me like a hammer blow. It dawned on me what real value meant. That single statement from Jessica dramatically changed my perspective towards my job. As the saying goes, change the mindset, and the actions follow. My client relationships and contract numbers doubled in no time, and I clinched the top spot in sales performance. Later, I was promoted to a managerial position. It was my first raise in 8 years since joining the company. By that time, Jessica was managing one of the 7 branches of the dental clinic chain. Though we didn't have children, we respected each other's lifestyles, believing it was the ideal form for a couple. Then one day, during a lingering summer heat in September, Jessica's phone rang. It was from a hospital near her parents' home in Texas. Jessica's parents had been involved in a multi-car crash, and they were taken to the emergency room. By the time Jessica and I arrived, her father had sadly passed away. While her mother survived, she was left with a lasting injury in her leg. After her father's funeral and the memorial service, Jessica brought up something she wanted to discuss. "Bob, I'm considering taking over the family dental clinic back home." "What?" I exclaimed, taken aback. "And I want you to move with me." I had seen it coming. Her family's home was in Texas, a distance that required a flight from our current place in Oregon. Commuting was out of the question. "You want me to quit my job to be with you?" I asked, and Jessica replied with a slightly awkward look. "I'm sorry. I know you've just become a manager and things are going well at work, but since my dad passed away, I'm the only one who can take over the family's dental clinic. And being an only child, I have to look after my mom. Unlike a short-term out-of-town assignment, I'm left with only 2 choices: quit my job and move with Jessica, or maintain a long-distance relationship." "I get where you were coming from, Jessica, but I can't decide right now." "Okay. If I were to leave my current job, I haven't even started looking for a new job. I'm not sure if I'd even find one." Hearing that, Jessica said, If you can't find a job you like, you can just help around the house. If you could take care of my mom during the day, it'd be a big relief. Since the clinic is private, if I work hard, I can support you and my mom." I was at a loss for words. She might be right. Even without my salary, she probably earns enough. But what about my past 8 years of hard work? "I'm sorry. I really need some time to think about it," I told Jessica and stepped outside. Becoming a stay-at-home husband. We've always shared household chores. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, I can handle them all. I'd probably manage caring for my mother-in-law too. But what would my mother-in-law think? Would she be uncomfortable with her son-in-law taking care of her day-to-day needs? That's a concern, and so is my job. I'm concerned about that, and about quitting my job where I've just been promoted. I pondered and came to a realization. I just can't do it. Depending solely on my wife's income isn't feasible for me. The next day, I spoke honestly to Jessica. She looked sad but said, "I get it. You can't just leave a job you've been dedicated to, but my decision is made. I want to continue the family dental clinic. I want to be with my mom." "I understand." And the decision was made. We'd live apart for a while. Initially, I'd use my days off to fly and visit her in her hometown. But soon, our busy lives took over, and our regular visits became infrequent. Calls and emails dwindled over time. Before we knew it, a year had passed since we started living separately, and we began to question the purpose of our marriage. And then, our bond, which was once just on paper, ended. 20 years have passed since then. At 55, I was promoted to the head of sales. Just thinking about retiring in another 5 years. When my company, hit by a recession, started laying people off. For those with positions, there was a bonus for early retirement. Maybe I could enjoy a break and look for another job during that time. I decided to opt for early retirement. Since then, I've been passing on my responsibilities to my juniors, and soon, all I had left was to use up my paid leaves. One evening, I was dining at a diner and watching the news on TV. The news showed an area affected by a landslide due to a hurricane. This hurricane was particularly bad. Houses were destroyed everywhere. At that moment, a familiar scene flashed across the TV screen. Wait a minute, I recognize that place. Oh? That's the road I took when I visited Jessica's family home a few times. Watching the news for a while, I realized the situation was dire. The whole residential area where Jessica lived with her mother-in-law was buried under a landslide. What on earth? This is bad. I rushed out of the shop and tried calling Jessica, but couldn't get through. The next morning, I headed to her family home. The area where Jessica's family home and the dental clinic stood was unrecognizable, buried beneath the mud and debris. From the local police, I learned that around 10 people had already been rescued and sent to the hospital. However, there were still over 10 victims buried alive. It seemed impossible at the disaster site to confirm the names of those who had been rescued. Believing that Jessica was among those saved, I headed to the hospital. At the hospital reception, I inquired about Jessica and her mother-in-law's names. What? This is her mother's name, isn't it? This can't be. I found out that Jessica's mother didn't make it. Jessica had been moved to the ICU. Apparently, she had a head injury. I waited in the hospital's lounge for hours on end. As the night approached, her condition deteriorated. Soon after, Jessica was rushed into surgery. Even during college exams or job interviews, I never really prayed. But now, that's all I could do. God, please, save Jessica. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. The last time Jessica and I spoke was about a month ago. Even after our breakup, we kept in touch a few times a year. updating each other over calls and emails. Since neither of us had any hard feelings, it was easy to communicate. "Hello, it's me. Oh, you sound down. What's wrong?" "Well, we got some fresh graduates at work, and they just casually email us whenever they're late or absent. It's really frustrating." She would listen to my complaints. She would comfort me by saying, "Modern kids can be so thoughtless these days." Looking back, I thought about relocating near Jessica's house and searching for a new job after taking early retirement. After our divorce, I was too busy with work, didn't date anyone, and never really felt attracted to anyone. I heard the situation was the same for her. 4 hours later, the light outside the surgery room went off, and the surgeon came out. Jessica had suffered internal bleeding in her brain from the impact. A clot had formed, blocking one of her brain vessels. She was alive, but there would be permanent damage to her right side. It's impossible for a dentist to continue treating patients with such an impairment. She can't continue her dental practice. Thinking about how Jessica must have felt, it breaks my heart. The next morning, Jessica woke up, her eyes widening in surprise when she saw me. "Bob," she whispered in a frail voice. "Oh, I just saw it on the TV news and rushed over. Is your head hurting?" "It seems the anesthesia is still working, so it doesn't hurt that much," she replied in a feeble voice. Afterward, the two of us listened to the doctor in charge. That her mother passed away at the disaster site. Jessica will have lasting effects on her right side. Her right hand is paralyzed and won't move as it used to. It was said that she'd likely need a cane to walk due to the residual effects on her right leg. Lying in bed, Jessica silently shed tears. I couldn't find the words to comfort her and just kept gently stroking her back. In about a week, Jessica was able to communicate normally. "Bob, what about your job? Have you been off this whole time?" I explained to her about my early retirement and that I was using up my paid leave, so I didn't need to go back to work. Then, I asked her, "Jessica, what do you want to do when you're discharged?" "I'm actually torn," she replied. "First, I want to lay Mom to rest beside Dad, but after that, our house and dental clinic are both gone. I don't know what to do." She probably realized that returning to work as a dentist might be out of the question. I mustered my courage and told her, "With my current situation, if you want to stay in this town, I can move here and support you, but if you want to leave, you can come with me." Hearing that, Jessica slowly shook her head. "I can't. I don't want to be a burden to you." "You'd never be a burden. 20 years ago, I chose my job over you and let you return to your family's home alone. I've always wondered if that decision was a mistake." Hearing this, Jessica looked at me with wide eyes. After a moment of silence, she said, "Bob, when I'm discharged, can I come back with you?" She looked a bit sad saying that. Her cherished hometown had now become a place of painful memories. "I understand. Let's go back together." Saying that, I gently patted Jessica's back. 2 months later, we're now working as live-in managers for an apartment complex. Every morning, while cleaning the entrance, we greet the residents. "Have a good day." "Will do." Jessica is currently practicing typing on a computer using her left hand. She wants to create notices to post on the apartment's bulletin board. I'm always amazed at her persistence, no matter the years gone by. I thought I'd be the one supporting her, but I find myself drawing inspiration from her more often than not. Since living with Jessica, I've taken up cooking as a hobby. I still need her taste tests and advice, but I aspire to surprise her with a delicious meal one day, experimenting with different dishes daily. It's amazing what you can accomplish at any age, in any situation. I firmly believe that, moving forward, we'll continue to support and grow with each other.